the Hogwarts Express. A train that means a hell of a lot to me considering, well, I built one. A model that dates back all the way to the inception of this channel's creation. So when LEGO came out and said they were going to make a full-on display set of this iconic train, I took a step back and said it's time to return to LEGO Harry Potter.
I'm Ron, by the way. Ron Weasley. Anything off the trolley, dears? Bertie, what's every flavour means? It's the card you want. What's going on?
There's something moving out there.
Did Mummy ever tell you it was rude to eavesdrop, Potter? Until you're right back to London.
Oh, Harry.
How do you know where I was?
But first, I think we should talk about the elephant in the room. When this set was first announced, I thought the same as a lot of you guys did. It's too big. Why have they made it so it can't fit on regular LEGO track? What are the LEGO designers thinking? And now having this set in hand and experiencing this, I think I know the particular reasons why they did this. And I think it's important to go through this before we start talking about the details and help you try and make that purchasing decision if you are thinking about buying this set. So the Collector's Edition Hogwarts Express is the most expensive Harry Potter set to exist, coming with 5,129 pieces, and also the most minifigures we've seen from a Harry Potter set being 20. But most importantly, it's made at a 1/32 scale. This means for all you traditional LEGO City fans, it's just not fitting on those rails of yours. But honestly, is that really a problem? Well, if you were part of the LEGO train community, you'd definitely say yes. And unfortunately, they've made that very vocal to the designer.
There's more disappointment than appreciation.
But as I'm part of that community that enjoys building trains, I think it's important to speculate why they may have made this design change. First off, I do believe that this set was intended for the train fans just as much as Harry Potter fans, as I don't believe the marketing team would just center one set around one particular community, even though it says Harry Potter on the box. As tailoring to two markets is way better for LEGO as it targets two markets rather than just one, and you see this in most other sets. Something like the Daily Bugle is targeting modulars as well as Marvel fans. The expandability on the marketing is just basic business and it's smart of LEGO to do. So people making the argument that it is just a LEGO Harry Potter set, therefore it's just intended for the LEGO Harry Potter audience, if you ask me, is wrong and goes against what LEGO are trying to do with this type of set. And this also, as a side effect, is why the LEGO train community is so mad, as even though the LEGO Harry Potter community may be happy with this set, the LEGO train fans who were promised a large LEGO train feel a bit cheated, as the only time we're getting new molded parts for a large steam engine happens to be on a train that we cannot put on our LEGO rails, and way too large to use the new molded wheels and build anything that might look good on a city layout. And as we don't get very many steam trains all that often, and therefore very rare that we get any sort of new molded train part, it's understandable that they'd be mad at this particular set for taking all those conventions that people want and throwing them out the window. And this might be the reason that when I went down to the LEGO store on day one to pick this up, that it was completely empty. So LEGO understandably are now questioning whether this was the correct move. But for everybody who does have a problem with this set due to its scale, I just want to shed a bit of light on the situation and speculate why LEGO may have gone down this route. Something that nobody has explained in any sort of review or discussion video on this set. And to help me do that, I want to discuss the three types of minifig scale. Now LEGO have come out countless times and said that scale doesn't matter and they never really tried to keep to a scale. But now being in the LEGO community for around 2 years, and making a lot of models for myself, I can wholeheartedly say that scale does come up when designing a set centered around minifigures. And I believe this set to be no exception. Now minifigures proportions being completely out of whack, and LEGO not really giving a clear answer on what they define as minifig scale, I'm going to give you my 3 definitions on what I believe minifig scale to be. The first one being true minifig scale. Now remember, these are just terms that I've made up, but true minifigure scale is when you take the height of a minifigure and use maths to work out how big your model should be comparatively to the minifigure's height. Now there are only some models that I believe that LEGO adhere this method to. Things like the 2013 gunship and the Inquisitor's ship are the first 2 things that come to mind for Star Wars, and this is the same method that companies like Brickvault use to work out the scaling of their ships. So you know when buying a model like this that you'll get the truest of Minifig Scale. But as I said before, LEGO don't tend to care about scale all that much, and don't adhere this to every set they make. So that introduces Play Scale. Play Scale is when a LEGO designer doesn't really care about what scale they're working in, and are just working to the price given to them by the marketing team. Immediate sets that come to mind when you think of Play Scale is every single city set and modular buildings. As if a modular building was scaled to a minifigure, we'd have a much bigger building on our hands. And if I'm honest, most sets that LEGO produce always tend to come under this scale. And the last scale that I tend to find most designers work by is Champion Scale. Now this is a very important one as it was only established a couple of years ago, and as opposed to true minifigure scale where it goes to the height of the minifigure, Champion Scale works to the width of a minifigure, therefore making the model ever so slightly bigger but accommodating more features. Of course I'm talking about Speed Champions. Now, if anybody remembers, Speed Champions used to be at 6 wide, which was the same scale as something like the modular buildings. This meant they worked very well on road plates, and fit in with something like the modular buildings, as that was their established scale. Now LEGO being LEGO and wanting to increase playability of these types of sets, added a second seat to these cars, introducing us to the 8 wide Speed Champions range. This caused people to complain about the new scale of the Speed Champions cars and also the price, but LEGO gave a relatively clever answer. Because they're now at this higher price and bigger scale, this allowed them to put in way more detail into the sets, and because the Speed Champions have remained at 8 wide, people can now really get a good appreciation for the techniques used in these sets. And frankly, I don't think anybody would want them to go back to 6 wide after getting some of these detailed cars, even though they look really big when compared to something like a minifigure. And I believe what's going on here is exactly the same situation. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you to the first Speed Champions train. Now I honestly don't think I'm going crazy here. The scale of the train fits in perfectly with other Speed Champions cars, as this train is adhering to the width of the minifigure rather than the height. This is the reason that the train looks slightly oversized, and also allows us to fit in that detail that we previously couldn't get on something like a 6 wide train. But obviously those being the benefits, the negatives is obviously it's not going to fit on your standard LEGO track as they're built for 6 wide trains. Therefore, we need a new track system, in this case a brick-built one, to display these trains at this new established scale. This would also explain why the new wheel is so big, to get the proportions right on this kind of a model. And if I'm honest, makes the train actually feel like a much better proportioned set. And honestly, if you're looking at this from the standpoint of it being a Speed Champions style build, all of a sudden the scale makes a lot more sense. And people are forgetting that this conversation happened a couple of years ago when Speed Champions did the exact same thing with cars. When Speed Champions upgraded to 8 wide, I feel like they were coming away from LEGO Cities and trying to be their own standalone thing. And I think that's exactly what this train is trying to do as well. It's not designed to go round a circuit. It's designed to be displayed along with all the fantastic minifigures that you get in this set. Speaking of which, for starters I want to say the minifigure selection here is fairly vast, so as I don't want this video to be an hour long, I'm only going to talk about the minifigures I feel I need to talk about, instead of looking at them one by one. Now something fairly interesting that the LEGO designers are doing for this set is combining 4 films into one set. As the journey to Hogwarts is represented in most films, it makes sense for them to do this, however it does leave a sour taste in people's mouths when they realise they're getting 4 Harrys in this set, and it's not looking good when the other figures are either reuses or variants of figures we've had before. However, I will say, after getting multiple versions of this set for years, it's finally nice to see the inclusion of a conductor or Hogwarts train driver finally in a Hogwarts Express set. I also really appreciate that they've put no skin tone at the top of the torso, so you can easily rebuy this figure on somewhere like Bricklink, in case you wanted to make a fireman or an engineer or just somebody to pack luggage onto the train. I also like the fact that this minifigure is done in dark red as opposed to light red, as if I'm honest, I'm probably just going to steal this driver and put him on my set. And as for the Golden Trio, it's nice to see this version of Harry back, as unlike seeing this figure in the advent calendar, this set featuring this version of Harry makes total sense and won't devalue the figure like the advent calendar did. Unfortunately, one thing I have noticed though is that mine seems to have a slight print defect on the mouth, and unfortunately that's not the only print defect I've had in this set. Luckily this face print is non-exclusive and can just be swapped out with any first year Harry Potter face, but does lead me to believe at least the quality control for this first batch of sets seems to be a little bit off, as 2 of my friends also claim to have missing pieces whilst building the set.
I'm Hermione Granger. And you are?
Ron Weasley.
Pleasure.
It's nice to see Ron get an exclusive torso and face print for this scene, even down to the little details like the dirt on his nose. However, unfortunately, Hermione does not get the same treatment, as she's relatively easy to make if you've had other Harry Potter sets previously in the wave. But one thing I will say about this outfit that Hermione is wearing is I like that it comes with the previously used molded skirt pieces. However, being somebody that puts the arms down on a minifigure before you put on the legs, I've already scratched these two pieces, so please be really careful when assembling this figure, otherwise you might end up like mine and having to replace the piece. And this also applies to the Ravenclaw student as well. And now here's where I start to have a few problems with the figures. Now, I'm not asking for every single minifigure to be exclusive here, but a lot of figures seem like they're repeats and easy repeats at that. And yes, it's nice to get a quote-unquote new version of Lupin, but we've already had him twice. Did we really need to have Lupin for this set as well? Even the Trolley Witch, which you could technically count this new figure as exclusive, it's extremely similar to the one that we saw in the 2018 play version of this set, only with an updated chain, some pockets, and changing the legs out to dark red instead of grey. The face print, even though it's using LEGO's newer technology for face prints, therefore the lines are a bit thicker, it's the same print. And although you wanted to represent the first film, as the Trolley Witch goes in her own separate place, as indicated by the instructions, there's no real reason why this couldn't have been the Goblet of Fire version of the Trolley Witch, with another quote tile, and maybe giving us an extra figure of Cho Chang, and represented Goblet of Fire a little bit, as that would make this figure exclusive, give another film to represent, and just feel a little bit more special. But I understand this film would be hidden in the back, just like the rest of Goblet of Fire is to LEGO. Oh, finally, no, next year we're getting the second task. At least that'll be it. Wait, hold on, there's only 5 figures. And it's the same with the episode 6 figures. As much as it's very nice to see Draco Malfoy in the suit, this figure seems like it's going to be reused in the upcoming Room of Requirement set, as it's based on the Half-Blood Prince. And the rest of the figures from episode 6 we've either had before, or had much better versions of previously. Luna is a great example of this, as we've had her in a previous Harry Potter CMF, in exactly the same outfit, just a cloth skirt instead of printed legs. The CMF version also came with a few more details, and arguably in my opinion just looks better than the one that's come in this set. And I understand that LEGO don't want to use a CMF figure, as that will break the exclusivity that a CMF brings, and I understand that logic if this was a £60 or £70 set, but as this is $500, I think including a CMF grade figure is okay in this instance. And although I like these figures, I don't think they really needed to be included in this set at all. And better figures that are more appropriate for this set could have been included instead. I would have loved to have seen Voldemort in the suit from Order of the Phoenix. That would just include Harry and Voldemort, giving us a Harry torso that we've never had before, even though it's arguably plain, and it would give us the Voldemort in the suit, which I think would look very cool. My point being, I think there's definitely some missed opportunities with the figures in this set, and can understand why the figure selection may put a few people off, even though some of them are very nice variants or remakes. The only figures I really enjoy are the epilogue figures, minus the faces on Albus and Lily Potter, as they're just generic child face prints. But they do still work in this situation. Harry and Ginny are both new and exclusive to this set, both wearing the same outfits we see from the epilogue ending of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. The graphic designer has done a fantastic job at representing the likeness of these figures in their older form. However, I will say that my Harry Potter does seem to be misprinted, and I've already contacted LEGO about getting a new head, as the head on my Harry Potter, even though it looks amazing, is slightly elevated by at least 1 millimeter. It's also a shame that we don't see old Ron and Hermione in this scene as well, considering they are all at the end and the final shot of the film, and apparently were included before being removed to go in a quote-unquote different direction.
There's more disappointment than appreciation.
Even Harry Potter fans don't like this decision, and as the graphic design team have already done the figures, I hope to one day see them in a CMF series, or be included in some form of Hogwarts Express calendar, or something like that in the future. Even though you do get a lot of figures with this figure selection, I think the choices of figures are definitely skewed, and if I was in charge of this set, probably would have only done 1, 3, and 7 as my films that I've chosen for this set, freeing up those extra slots for old Ron and old Hermione, as well as another train driver, as you would normally find at least 2 people operating a train like this. I don't think missing 2 figures we've had before for 3 new exclusive figures would be that bad, as this is a $500 set. Besides, as we've had those figures before, you can always recreate this scene when that Draco does inevitably come out when the Room of Requirement set is released later next year. Now, as we're already this long into the video and I haven't even started talking about the train yet, I think it's time to talk about the set itself and what I think of the build. And the first thing I want to talk about is actually the track. Now, like I said before, this is a brick-built variant of the existing LEGO track, which means instead of the big one molded piece, they use a lot of separate pieces, including this train rail piece, to create 1.2 meters of straight track. But unfortunately, at least on my copy, it seems to be that the rails don't have much clutch power in between these jumper plates, so it's very likely that you will find rails misaligned or bowing up from time to time. Also, if you are transporting these rails in any way, please make sure you grab them from both ends, as they tend to split down the middle quite a fair bit, and would have been nice if these were made in smaller sections and clicked together, rather than just being built in two halves and hoping for the best. I also noticed the sleepers were done in a light bluish grey colour, and as sleepers are normally made of wood, I thought they should be brown, and thought I had an expensive mod incoming. However, if you do look at King's Cross Station and the Harry Potter Studio Tour, you'll find that they used concrete sleepers rather than wooden ones, making them grey and accurate to the scene, so well done there. And now we can finally start talking about the things I like about this set. The station attaches to the side of the rails at several different points up the stretch of the track, meaning the station is quite versatile in choices of display. One thing I really appreciate about the station is the fact that it's all tiled with occasional jumpers, meaning you can display a lot more minifigures than the ones that are just provided in the set. Unfortunately, this does mean that the station can fill up quite quickly, and speaking of filling the station, I really wish it came with more 9 3/4 tiles. You do get 2 in the set, which is very nice, but I wish it came with 3 or 4. I know we get the big ticket in this, but frankly, I don't really care about it. If you don't have the Hogwarts icons, it just seems like a little bit of a pointless inclusion to me, and would have much rather got rid of this for some more printed tiles, like more tickets, chocolate frog cards, and even some newspapers would be nice. The techniques used in the station are fantastic, building this section of the wall upside down, which resulted in a really fantastic building experience, and even the details on the walls make it less boring to look at and are accurate to the scene. I especially love the black girder pieces that you find on King's Cross Station, represented in this nice black Technic axle that's flexible, and the little black ring and clip used to make this really unique shape. I also like that they pulled out all the stops and used masonry bricks, as there's a fair few of them in this set, and LEGO could have easily made this a flat wall instead of opting for the more expensive piece and giving us the extra detail. But speaking of some extra detail that I don't like, these arch pieces underneath the platform just look really odd to me, and think they should have been substituted for a different brick. I think these bricks just look too thin, and even though they might be there for structural reasons, I think the aesthetic of these just looks off, and would have much preferred the archway pieces they used around the edging of this set, as I think they look a lot cleaner than these ones. But frankly, something to me that's unacceptable is the trademark logos after every single 9 3/4 logo. I understand that this logo is trademarked, but frankly this set isn't from 2004, and I thought we got past this issue. Every single thing that's marked 9 3/4 has a trademark logo next to it, including the stickers, Hogwarts Express signage, and even the large ticket you get to put with your Hogwarts icons. We haven't had this trademark issue in years, and every set since 2018 hasn't had any trademark logos on any of their Harry Potter names or logos until now. Not even the Hogwarts from 2018 has trademark logos on their 9 3/4 logos, so why we have to have it now on a set 6 times the price completely baffles me. The shaping of this set is just incredible, and I don't really understand how LEGO designers think in this way. The techniques going on inside the boiler and firebox to achieve this step-down look are frankly incredible, and I commend Marcos Besser for building this set in such an interesting and creative way. And all of this comes together to create a really interesting shape, and like I said at the beginning of this video, really interested to see where they could take this larger train concept. The tender follows suit with a lot of details added, from the bright light orange trim and a detailed brick-built coal bunker. I especially love the door detailing where the coal would come out, but unfortunately the coal bunker is full of coal and the piece used is a round plate. And unfortunately I just think this piece of coal just looks too big to go alongside a minifig. I would have preferred them to use either 1x1 bricks or plates. Now the tender is hollow, so if you wanted to mod this and do that yourself, that's totally possible. However, I will say when building this tender I did notice what potentially might be an illegal technique, putting stress on this 1x4 plate, and really hope that doesn't affect the set in the long run. Another thing that could have been improved is the interior detail inside the cab. As these are steam trains, they're usually copper pipes everywhere, and different gauges and dials, and levers that would be used to operate the train. Unfortunately, LEGO decided to make everything in here black, meaning the detail gets quite muddy, and a really interesting part of the train that could have been represented in really nice detail, unfortunately gets kicked to the curb. I quite like the way they've done the front of the train, however, opting to not use a printed dish like the playset, instead making a brick-built structure that pokes out the front of the boiler. This tiny brick-built section is meant to represent the Hogwarts crest that's on the top of the train, with the nice Hogwarts Express signage below it. The 5972, instead of being printed on the dish, is now on a 1x2 tile, but unfortunately unfortunately the 10A printing that's meant to be here just is non-existent, and unfortunately there doesn't seem to be a way to add it on. And unfortunately the missing details carry over to the tender as well, with these massive indentations in the back of the tender being a strange addition, as the back of the tender is meant to be flat, but honestly that one's a bit nitpicky. You could probably just turn these plates around and you'll be fine. But honestly, I think the most detailed part about this set is probably the carriage. These carriages should technically be slightly longer, but I don't think anybody's asking for this set to be even longer, as who knows what that would do to the existing price. But even though this carriage is slightly short, I still think it was an incredibly satisfying build. It had some interesting techniques, and the removable section to easily get to the figures is greatly appreciated. This set also relies on quote tiles to represent the scenes, 3 of which are in the carriage, 1 of which is on the station. However, I really like the fact that when the carriage is closed and you don't have any removable sections open, these quote tiles are hidden, so if you wanted to have your carriage whole, while on display, it's almost like you can remove them and reveal this hidden aspect of the scene. It's also notable that the instructions actually tell you where to put the figures on this set, and as this set is designed to be a display set, it's understandable that the instructions would tell you where to put the figures. However, there are studs all over the model, so if you decide to put the figures in different spots, or decide to be really crazy and buy yourself another one of these sets to display another carriage, it's incredibly easy to swap all figures out and even remove the quote tiles. Another thing I found extremely interesting about this carriage build is it can fit 4 minifigures in the compartment, with a 5th at the door. The use of these sliding doors is extremely interesting, and I'm sure if you made this carriage ever so slightly smaller to fit in better with the minifigures, this type of a detail would have had to been cut from the set, as well as the adjustable armrests exactly like you see in the Harry Potter films. Unfortunately, I'm not really sure how to feel about the light brick implementation on this set. In my mind, I think it's actually quite a good feature considering I like this use of the light brick, being able to give some subtle glow to the cabins. This especially works very well when the carriage is closed, but unfortunately because these lights are not toggleable, you have to rest your hand on top of the light brick, and is unlike a lighting kit where it just stays on for potential decoration, unlike something like the lighthouse set that's come out from LEGO Ideas. Now understandably that kind of mechanism would make the set more expensive, which we don't want in this situation, but as the light bricks are very noticeable on the top of the roof, I would have rather them just not be there whatsoever, especially as the cabins are not centered, so it makes it really obvious that there's something else on top of the roof. The beauty of most light bricks is that they're integrated into the build very well, as almost a hidden feature, whereas this one just feels really distracting and not something you want on a display set. Another fantastic use of the scale of this set is the fact that you've actually got opening doors on the carriage, not just the sliding ones you get in the cabins. Every door is openable. That means the ones on either end and the ones leading to the platform. A really fun detail, and again, more options for display. However, considering the sticker count on this model, I don't understand why they haven't put the Hogwarts crests on the sides of the carriage. A detail which I thought was fairly standard across most Hogwarts Expresses. And it's not like LEGO didn't notice this one, it even appears in the playset from 2018. Odd considering the sticker count in this set would have been simple enough to just add 2 more stickers. But maybe that detail just wasn't in the budget. But the things that were are amazing. Some of the features of this model are great, even ones that I haven't talked about in this video, like the Technic mechanism that makes the wheels go round, or the fact that the connecting rods are done in the proper way for the first time. But there's also a load of negatives with this set, problems that I could see you completely being turned off of their set because of. The fact it doesn't go on official LEGO track is a big bummer for a lot of people, and even though there are an acceptable amount of stickers in this set, there are pieces that just should have fundamentally been printed. All of the quote tiles are stickers. Even the Hogwarts Express plaque on the front of the train is a sticker, and actually had me sweating trying to put it on because the sticker is actually a different shape to the piece, making it incredibly difficult to stick on. A vital sticker like that should definitely have been a print, considering the same Hogwarts Castle plaques on the side of the train were printed. And speaking of stickers, I know a lot of people have already mentioned this one, and I know LEGO are already working on fixing it, but they've spelt King's Cross on the front of the sticker wrong, as well as putting the complete wrong class of locomotive on the front of the sticker, putting a 59 series when this is a 49 series, a detail which they've had to VFX over in their video discussing the set, a detail which I found very funny, but for those who do buy this set around the time of release, might find themselves a hassle of trying to get a new sticker sheet, and goes back to that quality control issue I had at the start of this. And those of you who were wondering whether I was going to bring it up, yes, the colour is wrong. I've gone this entire time without mentioning it, but the train should be dark red, and as this set is a $500 set, I would expect them to mould the pieces for dark red as opposed to the lighter red variant, and if I'm totally honest, a lot of these pieces do exist in dark red, with only a few needing a recolor. I also think the bright yellow colour is the wrong colour as well, and would have been really nice if this train existed in dark red with a metallic gold or pearl gold trim, and would have made it feel like that display piece and high quality product that we're expecting out of a $500 set. But even after all of those nitpicks, you can't help but look at it when it's finished and fall in love. Yeah, the colour's wrong. Yeah, it's a bit big, but look at it. It's a big train. There's just something about it that you can't really put into words. And I think with any LEGO set to ever exist, there's a plethora of problems that you're going to find if you're looking at it with a too finely toothed comb. I mean, look at this channel's early days. Just finding problems for the sake of finding problems, because it's fun to dunk on a set. But after all of the nitpicks I've had throughout this entire video, I can't help but look at it and think I was genuinely excited to build something like this, after not being excited for a Harry Potter set in such a long time. And even though it's not designed to go on a layout, I really do think it gives that respect to the train fans that want to build a giant replica train. And even though it would have been nice for it to run on a layout, I don't think a layout at this scale would be practical ever, unless you were planning on running this set outside, for instance, in which case I'm sure some 3D printing company are gonna make some form of rail for this to go on. What I'm more excited for is this opens up that opportunity for LEGO to give us more display trains in this type of a scale. Flying Scotsman, Mallard, Back to the Future, Polar Express, so many trains that people have wanted and now can get them and give us the proper detail that these trains deserve. So LEGO, if you are watching this wasn't the wrong direction, but you do need to tailor to those people who wanted this in the first place. Keep this scale for display, I think it's great, but give those train fans what they've wanted for years, more steam train parts. This doesn't count, it's a new scale. We still need a wheel between this one and the new one, so mock makers can make those trains they want to make, and not resort to third-party alternatives. But by all means, make more Speed Champion styled trains. I think it's a fantastic decision to give us those trains with extra detail, and hell, you never know, they may remake this train in a couple of years for 200 quid and it runs on a layout, and give us the best of both worlds. But for now, I'm certainly happy calling this my favourite Hogwarts Express. Well, unless you count my one. Now obviously it's not made by LEGO, but if you want a UCS styled Hogwarts Express in the correct colour with similar play features to this and motorization, you can click the screen now to see my Mark II Wizards Express. Or say you did buy this Hogwarts Express because you like it just as much as I do, and you want some mods to make it ever so slightly more accurate, I have you covered as well. Click the other video on screen, and I'll see you guys over there. This is actually going to be one of my longest videos to ever release, so if you liked it, please smash the like button. And if you want to see more content like this, press subscribe.